there are three things that once you know this reality, what will happen. Three things which are mentioned in verse 6 and 7. The sixth one we saw, that what tataha na vichigupsate. So that means the person does not hate anyone. So hate anyone, as I said, it's talking at two levels. One is that no matter what happens in the mind, Atma is already free. That is the first knowledge. That means the mind undergoes emotion, mind has opinions, the mind has that, but awareness is already free. That is the first knowledge. So the person will make the statement that I am free from what? Every emotion. Not because the mind has necessarily eliminated, but the person knows the relationship between I and the mind. Yeah? But the danger in doing that is what we call the problem of dissociation. The problem of dissociation is because you kind of convince yourself, I'm awareness, I'm free. So what you do is you try to bypass the emotion by saying, I'm not the emotion.
Problem of
dissociation. Dissociation means you try to separate yourself from it and don't acknowledge or don't give the due importance to what is in the mind. One thing is a fact. I mean, when we say that the bottle is already free, it is free from color. It's nothing to do with making it free or anything. But you must understand the color is there. Where does the color belong? In that cloth. So here it is the mind. So that means when the mind is colored, it cannot see the reality. So that means even though awareness or I am totally free, in order for me to live from that freedom, I need to have a mind which is what? Free. You need to have a mind which is not confused, not with complexes, not working with all the clutter. You need to free it. Because mind is an access for knowing the true nature.
It's a tendency of mind.
Yeah. So therefore you need to, even though you are essentially free from all the different conditions of the mind, that does not become an excuse for you not to deal with the mind. This is the problem many people have with Vedanta. That's why, as Viresh keeps saying, and it's so true, that initially Vedanta was not given to everyone. The teacher would be very kind of selective. And why? Not because they want to kind of, but if you don't have a prepared mind, you can use these messages wrongly. And when you use these messages wrongly, not only you are more removed from reality, but you make everybody else also confused. So therefore, this is a knowledge where you need a certain preparedness. You need a kind of a sharp cognitive capacity where you don't use partial information to create your own stories. You have to really follow the logic all the way and make all the necessary adjustment. It is like, imagine you tell yourself, okay, I just want to be in the top and I want the top to be beautiful, but I don't care about the foundation, I don't care about what will happen. You can build a beautiful top but with no foundation. What will happen? It will just collapse. So therefore, in order to really build that foundation, you need to build a beautiful roof, which is the vision. You need a very strong foundation. And part of that foundation is what? Taking care of your emotions. Because as long as, whether Atma, whether awareness is free or not, but as long as your mind is confused, even if you are not the mind, you are connected to this mind. And as long as it is confused, it will continue to give what? Wrong messages. It will continue to have wrong assessment of situation, which will bring suffering. You can't avoid it. So therefore, you need to deal with it. So therefore, what here it says that in order to get to this point where you understand, there are three things which they are symbolic. They stand for many other things. The first thing we saw is hatred. So hatred means we all have a little our Taittiriya Upanishad, it says every human being suffers with guilt and hurt. All of us. Guilt is about, sorry Roberta, I'm going to use Sanskrit because it comes from the Taittiriya Upanishad. It says, Kimaham sadhuna akaravam, kimaham papam akaravam iti. Every human being suffers from, why did I not do what I should have done? That is guilt. With reference to the past, with reference to anything, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done it differently. All of us are that. Yeah. The other thing we carry, all of us, is hurt. Hurt is with reference to somebody else's action towards us or towards somebody else that we love. So hurt is, for example, why this person did this to me. That is hurt. Guilt is why I did this to somebody. Hurt is why that person did this to me. That is hurt.
Or to my loved ones.
Or to my loved ones. So that means that the hate, the resentment or hurt could also be, let's say I really love somebody, in yesterday's example. So imagine father and mother are fighting, for example, and you as a child are looking at it, and you then feel that identified with your mom, and you said, why my father did this to my mom? It was so bad. So that is what we carry, that hurt.
That's what people fight in the bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah,
This is true. This is what our teacher used to say, that you feel that you want to protect the child. So they said, okay, don't fight in front of the child. Go inside the bedroom and then fight. So then teacher used to say, child knows.
Sorry?
Child knows.
Because they can sense your emotions, they see your body language, they see your face, they see.
So you think you're protecting the child knows you very well. So
That
that
is
means
very
that you can't protect the child unless you are really in harmony. If you really want to protect the child, the solution is not to go in the bedroom and fight, but it is to have harmonious relationship. That is the only way.
Today's parents, they try to put the sons with them and they make a bigger defense system.
Yeah. So therefore, this guilt and hurt we all carry. So therefore, somewhere along our life, we need to address them. So that hurt that we carry, it's a very sensitive issue. It's a sensitive issue because on one hand we love these people, we love them so dearly, and at the same time they have caused what pain to us. So it's both are true. So generally we try to convince ourselves, no, but I love her, and maybe she didn't mean it. So we don't stay enough with our emotions. We quickly kind of, give some superficial reason and move on. But as long as we do that, it all sits within us and governs us. So therefore, this feeling of hurt, there is no choice but to resolve it. The freedom means you can't overcome it, or you bypass it. So therefore, how do you deal with the feeling of hurt? You can first acknowledge. When you acknowledge what our teacher used to say, you acknowledge that feeling of hurt belongs to where? No, but when? When that event already happened, right? So let's say now you're looking at the event and 20 years have passed, for example. So now, when you are thinking about the event, you don't need to think from now, you need to think from what? that 20 years ago, how you felt.
Is reduced.
No, it will get reduced as an adult when you move from the childhood and then reprocess it. If you immediately work as an adult, it will not.
Yeah.
So what our teacher used to say, when I'm thinking about the hurt that I'm carrying, I need to think about what?
You mean context.
In that time to how I felt. Because the hurt you're carrying forward from
that.
then.
From that.
So that means you have to what?
Go back.
You have to go back. And you have to go back and you have to relive the emotions. Don't try to justify. Don't try to say, oh, now it's okay. Because at that time you did feel hurt. That time it was too much for you to take. So that means you are acknowledging exactly what you felt then without what trying to filter it or without trying to add your 2 bits of understanding to it. You just bring and feel the feeling. Having done that, after having going through that feeling that you felt, now think about, as a result of this feeling, what is the story you told yourself 20 years ago? You not only felt hurt, there is not only emotion, but you also what? Thought about your mother in a certain way, or father in a certain way, or the world in a certain way, or whatever it is. You felt it. So that means not only feel the emotion, but also understand the story or the implicit belief that you created for yourself. And in that story that you built, what all you told yourself? Write down. Sometimes it's very, very important to write down. In writing, you don't try to censor anything. It's interesting. Once our teacher, Swamiji, was telling us to write whatever that we feel. And then he was reading, and then he was saying, you don't write like an adult. Write like a child. So that means what? It's
Emotions.
Give 100% of what you felt. Not like an adult, oh, I felt this and I felt that. You're angry and you feel like shouting, then that has to be done. So then he says, re-examine all the story that you told as a child. Because this is not an adult's problem. You're trying to solve what?
The child's
problem. So that means as an adult, if you try to solve with your present understanding, it will never get solved. So you almost have to get into what? The mind of the child. And you need to recreate what you thought as a child, because this is a carry forward of that. And what you understood at that given point in time. Having done that, first be very candid, write it out. The second thing that you can do is, you can say, now as an adult, let me see where would I correct the story? Which was reality and which was what? My own creation. You without denying it, first say it, then as an adult, you begin to see it. You begin to see it, and then what do? You do corrections in the story. So when you do the corrections in the story as an adult, you have what? A different understanding of what happened in the past. So even if, for example, you have a different understanding, which is an understanding of an adult, and you see it differently, still what happens is, sometimes even as an adult you see that, yeah, this was wrong. So say, yes, it was wrong. Don't try to say, oh no, my parents were really good. When you actually, let's say the father was being good to mother, you have to say it was wrong.
For example, in your story of parents fighting,
yes,
as a child you felt scared, you felt hurt, right? But
yes,
as an adult, you can say it's okay, all parents fight.
Exactly.
Example.
So that means See, as
I
an
mean,
adult, yes, absolutely.
Parents do argue, they do fight, it's normal.
There's no fight. No, see, Neeru, what I'm saying is, when the parents fought, I said, let's say there were 3 kids. One person thought that it is what, the fact is that the parents fought. The one person developed an orientation that it is all my fault. The second one could have sympathized with mother and thought the father was a aggressor. The third child can think that the mother was an aggressor and what the father was good. So that means all 3 had got the same scenario, but they are all suffering from what? Some hurt and some different story that they have told. Now when you are correcting the story, you don't try to tell, oh yeah, every parent fights. That will not disempower.
Because you're generalizing there.
Then you are again kind of, not, when you are retelling the story, what you have to tell is, yes.
What affected you?
Exactly. You have to tell.
Correct
That you need to really move from, take all the details and start correcting the small details rather than, oh, this is okay, that happens. It's not like that. So then you start correcting and you actually can say, yeah, my perception was that it is my father who was at fault. My sister's perception, because as an adult, you have far more infrastructure to understand the situation. So you can say, yeah, my sister had that perspective, which is what she's seeing my mother is responsible. And my other brother thinks that he is responsible. So that means I have partial truth, but the other people also have what? Perspective. So what could be the reality is that yes, my mother did something which affected me the most, but that may not be the only reality. Sometimes it could have been what my father told, and sometimes it is something that is giving me a huge impact. At that time, I saw them fighting and I totally bought into this picture and I need to correct it. But when you do the correction, don't generally say, oh, now it's okay. Don't do that. Go into the details and start doing the corrections one by one. That one by one, this is alignment to the realities. If you don't align at this level, your mind is never going to align to bigger realities. Then ultimately, what you can say is, after seeing whose responsibility, who did what or whatever, you still have to give up the resentment. What will help you? What will help you is to see Ishvara's order. The only thing that can help you is, because with that, how far you can go? You can just retell the facts in a more mature manner. But ultimately, you have to take it forward. You have to take it back and you have to say, yes, my mother did this. If she did it, you can't say, no, she didn't do it. That will not solve the problem. You have to say, yes, she did it, but she was helpless. There were so many causes, what she went through in her life that made her what she was. Or if you thought your dad was an aggressor, then you have to say, yes, he was like that. You don't have to deny it, but there could be so many causes which made him what he was. So that means then he had his own causes, and then that other person had their own causes, that person had their own causes. Whom will you finally blame? Tell me. You only can just, this is what we call surrender. Surrender does not mean that you just there's some entity Ishvara and you become submissive and all. Surrender means you unload all your burdens onto Ishvara. Unload. You need unloading. But unload with not a false story. Unload
with the reality.
With the reality. not in touch with reality, it just drops off. Until then you try to dodge, and nothing ever gets solved.
Because even there with God, you
Because
manipulate
they
also and say like,
Excellent.
oh, I want like this, but no.
Exactly. Because there also we are not in touch with
Yeah.
Where there is reality, there is Ishvara. So that means even if it is painful, and if it is reality, you have to acknowledge it. But you, after having acknowledged, you don't stay heavy. You unload it. You unload it and say, yeah, now there are causes within causes, within causes, within causes. And until what? We decide to, at any given point in time, you can decide that I'm no longer going to operate from that hurt. I'm going to look at what the situation from now on differently. So this is how you process it and you free yourself from it. So this is very, very important task. So that means every detail has to be reworked. So I will just tell you just a little bit of a story. It's a nice story. This is a story I've told many times. There is just to show how one small act on part of somebody can have so many consequences. So the story, I think I'm sure most of you have heard, but it is what we call it was called the forged coupon. You heard this story? No. Okay. The story is by Leo Tolstoy. So he was a great thinker. If you ask, like Gandhiji said that there were 2 or 3 people whose thinking influenced him the most, and Leo Tolstoy was one of them. So Leo Tolstoy, I read, there is a collection of short stories, and one of them I really liked, because the name of the story was Forged Coupon. So the Forged Coupon story goes, it is set in Russia, because Tolstoy was Russian, and a Sunday afternoon, father is reading the newspaper. Father is reading newspaper and his little son, 12, 13 years old, comes to him and he says, Father, today is the beginning of the month. It's a time for my allowance, monthly allowance. So his monthly allowance was 2 rubles. So the father said, okay. So he was about to give rubles. So then, he is very careful about the currency. Okay. So the 2 rubles. And the boy said, this month I want 10 rupees. So the father said, what? How come from 2 to 10? What happened? So the little boy says that, just a few days ago, there was a show, and it's a cultural show, and the tickets were 8 rubles, and I wanted to really see it, so I borrowed money from my friend, and I promised him that at the beginning of the month, when I have my allowance, I will ask my father and then I will return it to you. So he says, I borrowed from my friend, we both went for a cultural show, so now I want 10 rubles and not 2 rubles. Father said, what? You didn't even ask me whether you could go for the show or not, and I don't even know whether you went for the show or where you went. Now I'm not giving you anything else. You just do what you have to do, but I'm just going to give you 2 rubles.
Very kind man. At least he gave to.
At least he gave 2. Okay. So then the father gives him the 2 ruble coupon. Yeah, the coupon which can be cashed. So he says, now it's not my problem, you sort it out. And he starts what? Reading his newspaper again. So the boy is now stuck. Because the boy really wants to repay his friend. And now he didn't expect at all that the father would react like this. He thought that father would be reasonable. He'll ask and then he will, what, I mean, he thought maybe he'll be happy that I went and saw something cultural and, you know, encourage me. But my father is just completely not interested in trying to help me. So therefore, the boy is lost. But he still has this feeling of guilt. He said, no, I must somehow repay my friend at least. So he goes to another friend of his and he says that, can you please lend me 8 rubles? The friend says, what? I don't have that kind of money. He says, but I promised this other friend that I'll repay, now what to do? So the other friend says, what do you have then? So he says, I have 2 coupon of 2 rupees. So his friend says, oh, I have an idea. So he says, oh good, at least he said, oh, you have an idea. So he says, what we can do, we don't have money. What we can do is, we can add 1 in front of the 2. So what will happen? It will become 12. So now, it will become 12 ruble coupon, will go to near neighborhood store, not total neighborhood, little bit far where people don't know us. We'll buy some sweets worth 2 rubles and we'll give a coupon of 12 rubles. We'll get what?
10 back.
10 back. So out of that, 8 you give your friend back and 2, which is your original allowance, you will have with you. Brilliant idea. Beautiful thinking. Brilliant thinking. This is how we think.
Why did you put 1 to 0?
He was not yet so greedy because he was little young.
He wasn't hurt that much.
He wasn't hurt.
Otherwise,
So that means what he did then. So now the first reaction that the boy had when his friend proposed his solution, he knew exactly that this is not right. Immediately he said, how can I do that? But he thought about it a little bit more and he said, what are the options I have? None of my friends will be able to give me this 8 rubles and I'll be stuck and I'll be feeling guilty. At least there is a solution here. So what he did is, he went along and then what, they both go, they put 1 and they do it like carefully so that it matches. Then they went to a little bit far away shop and there was a lady there, a shopkeeper, a shop owner, and she saw 2 little boys, 8, 12 years old. So it was nice and they selected some sweets worth 2 rubles and then they gave coupon. So the lady didn't really check very carefully. So she took the coupon, she gave them the sweets and she gave back the change, which is what? 10 rupees. So now the 2 boys walked out and this one rushed to pay back his friend. So he paid 8 rubles and he still had 2 rubles, which is his normal allowance, plus some sweets. So he was very happy. He said, now wonderful, the problem is solved. I am so clever. What happens? This is Leo Tolstoy. Interesting. He shows the story how things proceed. Now the story moves to the shop at night where the husband comes to do the accounts. The lady who sold what? This 12 ruble, 2 ruble worth of sweets and gave 10 rubles back. So now the lady is there looking after the shop the whole day. Evening the husband comes and starts doing the account. But the husband is far more careful. So the minute he looks at the coupon, he immediately recognizes that it is what? A forged one. It's not a real coupon. So he tells his wife, what is this? So the wife said, so what? And she was a little surprised. So he said, what is this coupon? He said, yeah, there are 2 boys who came. They bought some sweets. They gave me a coupon of 12 rubles and I gave them 10 back. So that's all. So he says, can't you see that this is what? A forced one? So the wife was a little bit shocked, and then she saw and she said, oh my God. Then the husband starts shouting at his wife, you can't do one thing right. I so many times tell you, you're an emotional fool. You just, two little boys walk in and they want to buy some sweets and you don't even carefully look what they are giving you. So therefore, the husband starts abusing and blaming the wife. Now, how is the wife, now Leo Tolstoy is clever. He says, now what is wife thinking? So he says, the wife, while listening to this, is thinking mentally, because she doesn't have enough courage to what? Tell him back. But she's thinking mentally, and she's thinking, what? Why did I ever marry this man?
So true. Stingy man.
That this man just is so insensitive. So many things he does wrong, and I just what?
Don't do it.
I don't do anything. But when I do one thing wrong, he just shouts and blames and puts me down, and he just has no respect for me, and so she's what? Mentally all very frustrated. Then she says, my parents told me that he's so insensitive, but I didn't listen to him. My parents. So that is going on. What? There was a huge fight between husband and wife.
8 rules.
The 8 rules. Then this husband, after having fought with his wife, he says, I still don't want to be stuck with this forged coupon. So let me find what? Another victim and pass it on to him. So at least I get what? My 12 rubles back. So he says, what am I going to do now? So he says, okay, if I go somewhere in the city, people are very clever, they'll find out. So let me go a little bit to the countryside and let me go to a peasant and buy wood, because they have very severe winters. So he says, let me buy wood and in bulk. So I will have enough wood for the winter, and then I will want to get rid of these 12 rubles, and that person is a peasant, he will not know much, and he will just take it. So he drives a little bit far to the countryside, and he goes to a little village, and he buys what? The wood worth 12 rubles. And again the peasant is innocent. He thinks that there is some man who has come from the city who's buying for the whole winter. So he's very happy, he sells, and then he takes the coupon. So now the husband is what? Very happy, thinking what? That I've solved the problem. I got rid of this forged coupon, I got what? Wood for the winter, everything is wonderful. Even if I had a fight with my wife, so what? Yeah. So that is, he according to him is solved the problem. Then the story moves to the peasant. The peasant, he is so ecstatic that he got so much money. So then he says, let me go and celebrate that all of a sudden somebody came and bought this bulk. So then he says, let me go to a local bar and drink some vodka. So at night, he goes to a bar to celebrate his earning, and he drinks some couple of pegs of vodka, shots of vodka, and then what he pays with his coupon. The bar owner immediately finds out. Now, this peasant is just an uneducated person, so the bar owner calls the police and says that this person is what? Dealing with forged coupon. And what? The police comes and takes him in the jail. And the wife, his wife, what? She comes crying, she says, what have you done? And you're so, I didn't know you're so dishonest, and that you are doing forgery, and So again what? They too also
Have that.
another part. The story goes on for 2-3 more times, and then Leo Tolstoy ends the story by asking who is responsible for these series of events. Who is responsible?
The father.
All of them, all of
The
them.
father.
The origin, exactly. So what is interesting is, what Neeru is saying is also right. In fact, who is the original problem? The original problem is what? Insensitivity of father. And what is interesting about this story is, it's not like the father did something very bad.
Yeah, but he should have at least investigated a bit about the
Exactly.
child.
So that means
Very insensitive to. Yeah.
how many times we do that?
Yeah.
It seems like no big deal, right?
No
Then
big
the
deal.
child comes and asks for something and you said, no.
Yeah.
It
Why
seems
you
like,
want it? Yeah.
absolutely. But
Nowadays, everybody who goes to college, he makes a call to father. I'm in trouble on 25th of the month. So I'm in trouble, but I don't need your help. The father said, no, what's there? Please tell me, I want to help you. And he said, I need $500 extra this month. He's going on regularly.
so that's good. So the father is under, but then the father, then there will be another problem. If this guy is high on drugs every night and then asking, then what? So that means we have to learn to what?
Okay.
Think.
We need to understand from Tolstoy's perspective.
Exactly. What we need to understand from Tolstoy what he's trying to communicate. Yeah? What he's trying to communicate is, yes, that the father was just not enough careful when the child comes. And that seems like no big deal. But actually, how many lives are affected by that?
Can snowball.
It can snowball. But what Neeru is saying is also right. And this is what one German psychologist, when I was telling the story in Germany, and he came and he told me, actually, even though it caused one situation after the other, at any given point in time, somebody could have stopped it. Somebody could have said, yes, I was wrong.
Conscious.
Yes, I was wrong, but I'm not going to pass it on.
Right.
Just because you were wrong, we constantly, this is exactly what we do with reference to our emotions. Our emotions. We are hurt, we carry orientations, and knowingly or unknowingly, we pass on those orientations.
Beautiful.
We pass on those orientations. So that means we create legacy of confusion.
Yeah, which is so people don't even realize that.
They don't even realize it. So here, what we are trying to do is break that legacy of confusion by saying, yeah, this happened, and I did feel like that at that given point in time. It's true. But today, I need not continue to act based on that hurt. Because if I do that, how many other people
Affected.
are going to be affected? You have to put
A
stop to it. That free will you have. If you don't recognize this and if you don't use your free will to say, okay, from today on, I understand, I'm not in a denial, I'm not in anything, I'm honest at the same time, I'm going to change, I'm not going to be working under the influence of that hurt. Because if I do that, I victimize how many others? I continue the chain. So therefore, this is what we call that whole thing, that using your free will to stop something that has been continuing from the past. The minute you do that, you create a new trajectory for your life, new path. So there was Surya used to show a very nice video, and I showed it to somebody, and now those have become, we have what we call super highway of habit. super highway of habit means a situation happens like that and immediately on all our everything kicks in and you have this orientation and you act based on that orientation. So then this is a neuroscientist, and then he says you have to consciously move away from super highway of habit, and you have to yourself create a new country road of wisdom. You have to create mentally. You need to re-understand situations. You need to free yourself from the past burdens and see a bigger picture and learn to do your actions differently.
And the beauty is that it's not just metaphorical.
Yes, it is.
The super highways in the country road is not just metaphor. It is also a reality how the wiring in your brain is getting ingrained and is changing. And as a result, you develop some new ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. So it is also there. It's not just some metaphor, some abstract, beautiful imagery. No, it's a reality which is here.
So what they talk about is, what Surya is saying is neuroplasticity. So it says that the minute you begin to make effort of thinking different, understanding things differently, and as a result of a new understanding, acting and behaving differently, and having different attitudes, physically the neuron connections change in your brain. This is what we call neuroplasticity. The latest discoveries in neuroscience.
Even at a ripe old age, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Even at any, that was I was telling you, Roberto. At any age, you can decide to change and you can do things differently.
Yeah, good.
That
Because like
is-
Suresh also said, when you can't change, you can change it any time.
At any time.
Because the very nature of Ishvara is to
Exactly. Absolutely. And that opportunity to change is always given to every human being.
And on top of this would be against Alzheimer. Because you
Yeah.
change it.
because you're
Because
wiring
you're exactly, you're
Science.
absolutely, you're helping yourself not to kind of, against things like dementia, Alzheimer, because you are making conscious effort to reorient your whole thinking processes.
Yeah. So that helps also for
That helps a
dementia,
lot.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah. So that's why this Vedanta is quite extraordinary, because it really is all about giving us the infrastructure, bigger and bigger and bigger infrastructure to operate from. And as you begin to have bigger and bigger and bigger infrastructure, all your emotions and all your stories, they get corrected. As your stories get corrected, the impact they have on you diminishes.
Also what you've shown about the universe and that vast thing,
This.
what is my small role,
Yes.
also negates a lot of things. And
Yes.
I'm in a one hair in the whole big scheme of things.
Yeah.
What the hell I'm crying for?
And also I
I'm
think
breathing, that's good.
Yeah. See, I think also we use that big scheme of things by saying that that person himself or herself was doing it helplessly. Then that person was also doing it helplessly. So that means you're operating within what?
Confusion.
This
The whole-
whole change of what confused behaviors which are passed on, who are you going to blame? And not only that, you are also passing on.
And how does this relate to karma? The karma, how does that relate?
Yeah, so it exactly means like that. That karma means cause and effect, and
Yeah.
the cause and effect will continue until
You don't
change the
change
trajectory.
it.
You create a new trajectory, it will behave differently
You stop.
until you stop.
And you stop it.
So, until you stop the coupon. So this German guy, he said, it's an interesting story, but actually, he said, we think the father is to be blamed, but actually,
Everywhere.
Everybody, because someone could have stopped it.
because
And that was a child, others were adults.
Exactly. They were all adults. They all could have stopped taught it. Anybody, any one of them. Yeah, but then that also. So, but what I'm saying is, at any given point in time, yeah, because it happened to us, we knowingly or unknowingly pass it on.
But even bigger things, once you get an attitude
Yes.
of new understanding,
Yes.
you forget about that.
Yeah.
You forget about that event, and only the scar remains. The pain is gone.
That's true. But Videsh, what?
But in this
what
context is different.
What
What we are trying to
Swamiji
explain
is
that.
trying to say is, it will not automatically go away unless you pay some attention.
Yeah,
Over
because
a
you think.
period of time, it will go away. But if
Discipline approach is required.
if you use this knowledge to not look into it, it will continue to interfere.
And then it keeps coming back.
And it keeps coming back. So this is what he says.
You have to deliberately.
But you know, Neema, sometimes
But you have
also
to
the
address
knowledge
that.
makes you expand so much
Yes.
Yeah.
that
The
this,
impact of this.
the,
But
with the
Yes.
expansion, all this
Sure.
guilt and hurt also drops off without the pain.
yeah,
If
if
the pain goes, like he
automatically
said.
drops off, then it is wonderful. But there are some things which are very deep because they are
Yeah.
child's problem. See, the adult is understanding
Right,
it,
right.
but the child,
Child.
which is
Yeah.
still,
Yes.
and that is what he
In
says,
the subconscious mind.
So that subconscious. So now, when you come to Vedanta class, where are you operating from? Your conscious mind. And the conscious mind understands so many different things, and therefore, many times you will act from your
Yeah,
conscious mind.
conscious mind.
There is some situation
Yeah.
which will trigger what?
Right.
That subconscious. When that happens, you forget what all you have done.
Yeah, that
because
that
you
is
operate from this.
Conscious.
So you have to realize that even though I have invested so much in learning, and most of the time I have changed the way I interact with the world, because I am operating from my conscious mind, there are some situations which trigger my subconscious, which throws me off. And this framework, which I understand very well, is not available to me at that given point in time. So now, instead of thinking that it will automatically happen, you need to little bit undo that,
put some effort,
the effort,
conscious effort.
the conscious effort.
All I
So-
can
So,
Talk about consciousness, electricity is gone. Awareness is gone.
okay, so that is now same with reference to not only hatred, it is with sadness, and it is also with what? Delusion. We use the same thing with reference to any emotion. Yeah, here hatred was just one example. Sadness is the same thing. Yeah, we work ourselves to sadness.
True. So true.
So there is also the
In case of
situations.
sadness, there is also a question of sometimes chemistry, no? Or depression.
Yeah. So see, until a very long, see, medical sciences are also changing, because initially they thought that the cause is what? The chemical imbalance. So immediately they will give you what? Some kind of a tablet to restore the chemical balance. So now they are going one step further, and they are saying that your thinking processes influence what? The chemical balance themselves. So if you can't use chemical balance as the ultimate cause, there is some underlying confusion which then causes. So that means sometimes you can do it. It's not like you don't do it, but this is not the only way to address that. So depression, in addition to chemical imbalance, which we don't know whether it is a cause or it is an effect of a wrong thinking. So you need to ask yourself what all you are thinking, which story you are telling yourself to be so depressed. So that's why so many psychologists, they now it's so common for people to go and get their thinking processes right. So I'll just tell you one little story that my uncle was kind of one of the ones that KEM hospital, in one hospital in Bombay, he started the department of psychiatry. He was a very well-known doctor. And when he started a department of psychiatry, there was so much resistance because somehow the medical health was all about what? The physical health. Nobody ever thought about mental health. So he had to almost struggle to create, this is many years ago, create a department of psychiatry. Then his own son became psychiatrist and his own son also became psychiatrist. So you have 3 generations of psychiatrists. So we met this middle, who is my cousin, and we said, you know, you have seen 3 generations. Your father was a psychiatrist, your son is a psychiatrist, and you are a psychiatrist. How have you seen the discipline of psychiatry evolve over a period of time? He said, when my father started this department of psychiatry, people thought it is only for mad people. People who like gone totally bunkers. So psychiatry was only for them. He says, in my generation, people began to talk about what there is so many of the things that we have are psychosomatic. Psychosomatic means what? That what you think influences not only your mind but also your body. So that means there is an evolution. And now, when my son is practicing, they say almost every aspect of your life has to do with what?
Your mind.
What you think. He says this is how it has evolved, our understanding of what the importance of what getting it right here.
But it's proven in today's world, the way the doctor prescribes the medicine, he
It's
just
awful.
doesn't care about your questions or your emotions or your arguments. He just gives prescribe because he has a time limit of 20 minutes
Yeah.
to make $150. So he represents you like a salesman and he agrees with you on everything.
But you know
And
what?
they need to clean. I went to met a doctor in Dubai and he was doing the same thing to me. I said, what's your fee for 20 minutes? I'll pay you double. So please handle this carefully. And if you cannot, I'll pay you the money and I'll walk off. Then he became good friend because you know this client is different.
But
I said I'll give $1,000, but you know,
Yeah.
don't try to give me answers. Even if it's a stupid word, give the answer.
But you know, Vinesh, it's so true. But
He said, what to
because-
do? My superior had asked me that maximum to spend time is 20 minutes for a client. Can you believe? Top hospital, means there are lines there. Alzaros. I never go there. Once I just went there because Faye goes there. I also went there. Crazy.
Now they are
It's changing now.
to tell the other side. I know some hospitals both in UK, in Paris at Saint-Anne, which was 150 years ago, one of the first hospitals to deal with all the psychiatric cases, and also places in US, where when they deal with depression, not only they combine or they choose between medical, chemical, let's say, treatment and this cognitive therapy, but now they are adding mindfulness-based meditation practices.
Yeah.
Okay, so
This is a
they
future
are-
actually for
they are learning to
us.
meditate, to be aware of their thinking, and also to find this center. So more and more, so all this system wisdom also is coming.
walking in. And this is where also, you know, the commercial field is like that, and that's why so this morning Faye was talking about so many other alternative medicines have come up. Because they recognize that the modern medicine doesn't take care of so many different aspects.
But the
So you
mind
have
will.
all these alternative therapies now. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are like off, you don't know. But at least it's because people are searching for about different solutions rather than just looking at a problem in that kind of a narrow sense. And modern medicine is also evolving, absolutely.
But like you told anybody go to a psychiatrist, they think that
Then
because we thought only people.
Exactly.
But now it is a lot
Now
of
it
people
is.
go because they need
Absolutely.
the help more
They need
mentally.
help, absolutely. So that means that seeking, see, it's like when you have physical pain, will you hesitate and go and help yourself? No. We do it immediately, we run. But mental pain, there is some kind of a stigma. Oh my God, how can I go somewhere that will show that I am so vulnerable? But it is the same. If you need help, yourself. Ask for help. When you need help, ask for help. That is intelligent living. So therefore, this is what all, in order for you to know the reality, all these things have to be worked out. If these things are not worked out, the bigger reality just will remain a concept. It will not be able to live this vision. So that is
Which you
what.
give a button, delete, so pass the delete.
Pass delete. I wish it was as easy as that. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So once.
Verse 7?
Yeah, so 7 is done. Then the eighth one is, when this is done, then you can live from that freedom. Your life becomes an expression of the freedom that you enjoy. Because not only you understand a bigger reality about yourself, being that awareness which pervades everything, but the mind which understands is also freed from all these clutters, confusions, wrong understanding. So that means then the reality can flow through you effortlessly. The example that is given is, imagine that there is a bright sun, and then there are 3 vessels. One vessel is a muddy vessel. The second one is clear but it is wavy, and the third one is totally clear. The sun is always bright. The sun is never affected by the quality of water, but the vessel, the way it is able to reflect the sun is going to be very different. In the muddy water, that sun's reflection will be
Muddy.
very muddy. In a wavy, if it's clear but wavy, it will be little better than that. But it's still
Little.
comes and goes. But if the water is pure and still, then
The reflection is different.
totally different. And this is where what we are saying is, it's a kind of an analogy, it's an example to show the relationship between mind and awareness. Awareness is like the sun, which is always
Bright and shiny.
always bright and shiny. It never is tainted. But the mind is where how it gets the reflection of that awareness in your, you only live based on what your mind is. So if your mind is all cluttered, then
What kind of
happens?
emotion you're carrying basically?
Exactly. So if it's all cluttered, it's all confused, everything is mixed up, then how is going to be, even though this awareness is totally free from everything, what is going to be the quality of your life? It's all confusion. Then here, if it is vague, yeah, you have some clarity, but the whole picture is not totally clear. Then how it is going to be? Sometimes you are going to be very responsible. Sometimes you are going to be very thinking, caring. But sometimes you become impulsive. You are insensitive.
Happy, sad, very
exactly. So that means you switch back and forth. That also happens to so many people who are in that spiritual journey. There is almost like a switch. And then when all the issues are handled and the mind becomes serene, this is what Viresh kept saying is sattvic mind. The person who's resolved all of this, that the sun is able to reflect totally fully. There's no obstruction.
I have a solution to purify the mind immediately.
Yes. Just go to the beach.
No. You have a mind.
Yes.
And mind is the creation of all problems.
So you stop the mind.
No. You sign a contract and give your mind on lease to God for 99 years. So any bad thought comes out as this. I'm not saying Ram Tirupati.
That is the only way. Why? Because the psychology will only take you till what, that okay, I'm suffering like this because my father did this to me, or my mother did this to me, or this person did this to me, and then what? You are still stuck. The Ishvara gives you a tool to see the father behaved like that because the father had his own causes. Then his father had his own causes. His father had his own causes. Who are you going to blame? Even if you can't, not only you can't blame anyone, but you are knowingly or unknowingly, unless you address, you are also participating in this chain. You will unknowingly transfer it to your own kids while complaining about your father. You will also do the same to your son unless you change. So that means at any given point in time, I can choose whether I'm only going to behave based on what the past experiences and the impressions that it has created for me and helplessly behave from that, or I'm going to do things differently. And many times, this past, the impact of the past, you can't just erase. You can't just change the chip like Viresh is saying. It's not possible.
It has to be with the knowledge and understanding. It has to be.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you get frustrated.
Absolutely. So there, when you are feeling helpless, that even though I'm trying, I'm not able to totally erase, because there's some time lag between what the efforts that I make and the results that I get. In that time, when I feel helpless, what do? The only thing that I have is prayer. The only thing. In addition to trying hard and cognitively understanding it, I have to pray to that. That intelligence is a reservoir of a resource. It is for you to draw from it. When you use your free will and draw from it, you will what? Benefit.
So once you resolve the mind, the mind becomes clearer,
Yes.
it's almost as if the awareness can flow through you better, otherwise it's blocked.
Absolutely. It is it's a very good, not only awareness can flow through you better, but where Ishvara can flow through you better. Ishvara can flow through you better in the sense that you are born in this design of the universe, and you have some job to do. It's not like you are just here somehow spending 80 years somehow and then disappearing.
And taking all the resources from the
And
world.
then, exactly, and spoiling the whole thing for generations and then leaving the earth. That's not meant to be the purpose of your life. So that means that you have a purpose, and the more wise you are, and the more you have shed your ignorance and you know the reality, more Ishvara can use you to what? Shed others' ignorance. You become a participant in the creation, which is what? Because Ishvara is going to remove the ignorance how? Of people. Through other people.
But first you have to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Medium.
So
but a lot of time people don't do and they want to do other work. Because they find it like you have to do it this way. Yeah. And they themselves haven't done it.
They haven't done it. But the more you actually shed, the more you allow that whole design to flow through. And this is why, if anybody has faces, if my mission in life is to change others, I'm stupid. Because first,
need the change.
But if my mission in life is that whatever I have received, I have benefited a lot from it, and I'll share with others. All those who are interested in doing,
We'll take it.
they will take it. So you don't have this pressure of, I need this many people. It's nothing about gathering
numbers. Yeah.
It has got nothing to do about gathering resources. It's got, if that is your aim, then you're deluded. Every time I go for a retreat, people ask me how many people. This is
they want numbers. Yeah.
I don't care. And in fact, till last minute, I don't even know how many people are coming. because my purpose is not I'm successful if 25 people are sitting in my class. That's the least of my worries.
And then another thing people tell, oh, that person has to come, he has to learn this, he has to learn. Because they feel that others have to learn. You learn first.
I will introduce them now, next time you.
This is that a whole, what we are saying and what is important to us, it has to change.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I fully agree with what you said. On the other hand, I think we have to think of having a responsibility toward the masses. Because what you just said before,
Yes.
Vedanta is
Yes.
a little bit elitist.
A little bit, yes, yes, yes.
And when I was
Yes.
struck once, the first time I came actually to India on vacation, we went on a plantation actually in the States. The guy was a very wise guy, an older guy, etc., etc. And I was asking him with all this, he was, with all this knowledge you have in India, why you have still castes, and why you have why Muslims are growing, etc., etc. He was telling me exactly this. Muslims probably are growing because it's a religion that frees the people that are in castes. And that has an appeal to ignorance. So when I'm thinking, we are all talking about, a fantastic philosophy on this. The question is, think about a school of school like Montessori, thing like this, has changed millions of people, and that's important.
Yeah.
So if you think in a country, particularly in a country like India, you have to think about numbers. I'm a little bit aware because he knows what I'm doing here, etc. India, as I mentioned to you yesterday, is confronting a very serious problem about nutrition. Because 1.3 billion people, you don't have enough land, you don't have enough. There is no way to continue to eat like you eat now with 1.3 billion getting rich. No way. There will be serious problem. So this is in parallel, something completely different. Food is completely different, but it's a basic knowledge and schooling is also something that you have to think about. I'm thinking, Vedanta is complicated, there is no question. But there must be some way of making a simple way of passing it to leaders.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Yes.
I'm looking at the poor guy down there, he is, unfortunately, he's as valid as myself, as ourselves, but at the same time, it's at such a lower level. And this the guy that has to be taught not to throw plastic bottle on the beach and things like this, because otherwise,
See, to this there are two answers. One is that what you say is so true, and my teacher exactly agreed with you. So he was this teacher who was extremely brilliant, and in that role as a teacher of Vedanta, he used to not only teach Vedanta with a lot more nuance and a lot more subtlety and a lot more analysis, but he was the one who would expose ourselves to what quantum physics, neurosciences, psychology. So that means it's not some exclusive field. It is all converged, all the fountains of all the different fields are converging with what Vedanta. So you draw from what the talents of different people, different findings. So don't create, this is Vedanta and everything else is unimportant. Because everybody who is searching for truth, they have some partial discoveries, and those partial discoveries converge with this bigger picture. So that was his one approach, while including everyone and not creating Vedanta as one discipline which is separate from everything else. That was his one way. The second way, he said, is don't make, I'm giving you kind of an example. The second way, he said, is don't, even for if you are pursuing Vedanta, don't create in your mind a dichotomy as like two separate divisions. One is material life and second is spiritual life. And in order for you to be spiritual, you have to be what? Away from material life. This is exactly. This, he says, is so destructive. Because what is the vision of Vedanta? Ishavasya
Everywhere.
Sarva. It is, you, in fact, what you have to see is what? See Ishvara
In that world as well.
each and every
Blade of
aspect
grass
of your
also.
life. Absolutely. This is what Surya said. Try to think in meditation this morning. He said, try to think which aspect of not only your life, but anybody's life in the universe is not connected to Ishvara. Change. Change is a complete revolution. That's why we don't give, Swami Dayananda, he doesn't give run-of-the-mill Vedanta messages. He's a thinker.
He's a thinker.
of a highest right.
And also when people start learning Vedanta or spiritual, and if somebody else is not learning, it's like, oh, that person has no idea about spiritual. But in his life, he must be also a spiritual person. That's why. But
You'll be surprised.
because
when
we
you
have
talk
come
to
here
some-
to this place, so we think we have become very spiritual.
Absolutely. And people used to criticize my teacher.
Yeah.
Say, why is a Vedantin? Why is he not sticking to Adi Shankaracharya? Why is he engaging in dialogue with neurosciences? What has that got to do?
But I have.
Then, yeah, go ahead.
No, you first.
No,
Please,
finish.
no, please.
No, go ahead. Then, so that means even the domain of spirituality was revolutionary as to what is the position of spirituality vis-a-vis other disciplines. All include everyone. Then you what you do? You create a much bigger knowledge base at a universal level. Then the third thing he did was he started an organization called Aim for Seva. And Aim for Seva, which is a body which is only meant, because he understood that the teaching that he gave is not really meant for what people who are not enough cultivated. But that doesn't mean that he can't contribute to that strata of the society. So he started for underprivileged kids, schools, or student homes where they can actually finish their education. So they go to government schools, and what he did is, the government schools sometimes they don't have good education. They have teachers, they are paid well, but they don't teach properly. So what he did is, in those student homes, he got some tuition teachers who will give proper tuitions to the kids. And in addition to proper tuitions of maths, sciences and all that, he created a subject called values. Right attitudes, right values, inculcating to the kids. So that means through a different arm, which is what Aim for Seva. And in addition to that, he also met with world leaders and also the religious leaders, and he entered in dialogue with them. Because in India, there is a huge problem, as you rightly mentioned, problem of conversion. Conversion. So what you were saying, that the Muslims become Muslims, people become Christians because they are what mostly they caste, whatever. So he kind of said that, there are some problems in India, and we need to, those are social problems, and you need to deal with those social problems, it's true. But you can't use those social problems to have the program of conversion. That is like, so that also he talked to them, and he says that, so that you can say, America also has violence problems. You don't use that problem to propound your own agenda. So he was a man who was working at so many levels with so many people, identifying right forums, engaging with right type of people to do what he believed in. Brilliant man. Not hiding behind one role of a spiritual master and disconnected with the world, I'm detached with the extremely dynamic, extremely brilliant, very strategic.
But he gave me, and what Robert was saying, he already had a solution, and we are moving to the direction. I asked him a question: why India is so poor? They have got all the knowledge and all the wealth. And I sympathized with you as a friend because I can understand your feeling. So his answer, this was about 5:15 in Rishikesh. I asked him the question. I said, look at the time. He was giving me a private class. So he told me, he doesn't speak much, but he gives you a very little the whole solution. So he told that India has got 1.3 million people. So we have got 2.6 billion hands. Everybody has got 2 hands. He said, we need a good leader to organize this hands. That's it. Now we have that leader. Now he has a program called Make in India, and we are moving in the right direction. And also let me tell you, before our Swamiji was very sick, we had one meeting with the Prime Minister came to see him. They, in closed room, they had a discussion how to take it up.
1 billion Africans, etc., etc.
No, that's right. The whole world. But you are very right. Vedanta is for very few people who can help the other sect of the whole thing.
On the other hand, you go to MIT professor and you said you are teaching this economics, but there are so many people who are struggling. So why don't you go and help them? And this is also where when you know that there is a design, and in that design, the professor has his role to play, and those people who are working at the grassroots, they have their role to play. If you try for everyone to do everything, it's not possible. So that means there have to be some professors at MIT who will educate every year, some 100 people. Those 100 people will become government policy makers.
What here is doing.
So that exactly. So that means, because otherwise what happens is, there are so many different problems in this world of so many different kinds, and if you try to solve all the problems all at one time, it's not possible. So you identify what is your role.
The problem is that today the new generation does not have the luxury we have of time.
But you'll still be surprised. You'll be surprised, Roberto, that the change in attitude towards spirituality in the last 5 years.
The awareness has increased.
Increased so much. In fact, in Bombay, until very recently, Gita class, Upanishad class means 70 years old go, 80 years old go, who have got nothing to do. And now, everybody who comes to my class, they are relatively young.
In Brazil, we see the same.
Yeah, Brazil, by the way, I have to tell you.
Where all the young ones are there.
All the young
I was surprised
ones.
to see this whole group at the ashram.
Yeah, all young. Surya did a 3.5-year course recently, and there were 80 people, and about 40% foreigners, and all young. Japanese, Brazilians, Argentinians, from around.
Young means like 25-year-olds or 20.
They were like in there, like from 20 or 30,
yeah.
which is amazing to see that.
And just by the way, I have to tell you, I don't know if it is true or not, but there was a trainer who came when I was working with the UN. I was in Fiji, and there's a trainer who came, she was running a workshop on change management or something. And she was a New Zealander, and she was a Buddhist, a white New Zealander, but she was a Buddhist. And then I kind of got talking to her after the workshop, and she says that the whole world is now changing.
Yeah,
The world is changing, and the awareness, the youth is different. I mean, Neeru describes her son. He's a Harvard graduate, but he has a completely different values than, what generally the traditional value of well-being is. He started the rural tourism, sensitizing the elites to the rural lifestyle. Different goal altogether. And he tells them, what you don't know how to live life.
Yeah.
But evolved, they're evolved. they see so much more. We think they are losers. Actually, they're so
He
evolved.
tells us what do you
Yeah,
need to live.
what do you, exactly.
Yeah.
How much do you need?
How much? Absolutely.
You need nothing to live.
So, yeah,
Why do you
it's
need to spend
all
all
the
the
time. My jewelry was lost, Natasha said, Mom, now you realize not.
I will stop here because Surya is asking.
Yeah,
me to
please,
stop.
please.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamidam